Who's saying no to BC jobs and resource development? Not Labour.
My union has a proud history of working with First Nations group, and it's a great opportunity for them, and it's a great opportunity for my union.
Not First Nations.
We gotta have a future for these young guys. That's why I'm pushing for this new prosperity.
So what are British Columbians saying?
The resource sector is what keeps BC's economy going.
Better paying jobs and long-term jobs. That's what I'm looking at. And it's going to be good for our young people.
Does BC benefit from a growing resource economy?
It's a simple answer, yes.
Most Canadians view prostitution as a dehumanizing phenomenon that puts people at risk. The sale and the purchase of sex has never been illegal in Canada. That changes today.
And we're back. Earlier this year, Justice Minister Peter MacKay tabled sweeping reforms on sex work. This has been a topic that I've been discussing, writing about, speaking at events about the whole year. I've argued if somebody is doing something, two consenting adults are doing something they agree to that doesn't violate anyone else's liberties, it's fine. Let them do it. And in turn, the government should be doubling down on all truly criminal angles of the sex industry, child prostitution, abuse, and so forth. I have tried to sway many people, and I thank you for your feedback over this past year. One person, though, who I have not succeeded in my swaying. So News' own Marissa Semkiw. Whole show, topic today, government overreach. I say it's not my cup of tea, but let folks do it, and let's get the cops to go focus on the truly egregious stuff going on. Have I finally succeeded after this full year of effort working on you here?
You know,
to bring you over to the side of liberty and freedom.
I'm an open person. I am open to having my mind changed, but when it comes to prostitution, you've been unsuccessful in changing my mind. But I will
so you
say
don't like
this.
The liberty argument.
I will say this about you. Well, I mean, we can dispute that in a sec. I will say this about you, Anthony. At least you come out and you say that you are in support of the buying and selling of women and men as chattel. You want to see prostitution legalized. But what
I've
we're
used those
seeing,
words, have I?
But you've suggested
like
that prostitution
buying and selling people as chattel.
Well, that's in effect what it would be. But and I can admire you for that. What I will say is what we've seen from Premier Wynne over the last few weeks has been pretty despicable. I mean, this is a woman that's come out and said she doesn't support the current prostitution law. Where was she during the committee hearings? The week-long committee hearings when we heard from 60 witnesses, when this bill was still being voted on. What she's done as of late is she's come out and she said she doesn't think the law will protect prostitutes, but she will still follow the procedures by which, you know, certain people are prosecuted. And she said that she'll defer to the courts. She'll leave it to the courts ultimately to prosecute. And what she's doing is she's echoing what Francois Boivin did during the committee hearings, what many NDPers and what many Liberals...
Well, at least Boivin was on the committee.
Sure.
To your argument, she was supposed to be saying the things she was saying.
But Wynne is echoing what a lot of them did, which is defer to the Supreme Court. Why not send this bill back to the Supreme Court? That, to me, suggests a very concerning future for the state of current contemporary politics, which is our duly elected parliamentarians are the ones that pass laws. If the people of the day don't like the law that they're passed, they can then retaliate by not voting for them. But we're not supposed to just continue to send bills back to the Supreme Court, and that is what Wynne ultimately wants to do.
I agree with you there that when what she's doing is she's campaigning as a proxy for Justin Trudeau, and most of the public things she's been saying are vilification of Stephen Harper, which is a little odd because they're not even the same level of government. She's lost the Tim Hudak guy, now she's got to go after the Harper guy. I concede all those points. I do not necessarily think the process has been perfect, and the judges clearly not elected. You want to go to the folks there. But the whole conversation that I'm having here is also a legislative conversation, because we know that if the majority of MPs wanted to get behind the liberty argument I'm arguing for, then they could, and then we'd all be in agreement, and we wouldn't have this supreme snafu to begin with.
But then why haven't they come out?
And I'm trying to persuade them otherwise. So we're getting to the core of the issue.
But why haven't they come out and suggested any sort of substantive policy alternatives? It's because they're fearful of coming out and saying it. In fact, Justin Trudeau even admitted that it's inherently exploitative, that it's inherently harmful to women in this industry.
Well, that's because he has a very sort of radical feminist notion. You know, one of the interesting interesting things about this is the social conservative folks have been teaming up with the radical feminists in a way that I don't like. It says that women are not responsible for making their own choices. There's a lot of stuff that people do every day that I really don't particularly care for. I don't want to do. I don't want my kids to do them. But I go, well, there's consent. You're a sound mind. You're an adult. Go ahead and do it. Fill your boots. I think I have proposed the most substantive solution in this country. You legalize the law-abiding stuff, and you double down and hone in on the laws to get rid of the child prostitution, the human trafficking, and all that stuff. We're just getting all this stuff going after the consensual commercial exchange is getting in the way of it.
But I think that that's a naive way of looking at this industry that is inherently exploitative. You don't legalize something to make it less harmful. The industry is itself harmful, just as you don't legalize heroin because people are going to do it anyway. So you want to avoid those people that are going to partake in consuming heroin to ensure that it doesn't have, formaldehyde laced in it. You don't legalize something that is inherently harmful.
Prostitution does not have formaldehyde laced in it, so it's not the same argument as heroin.
But it's inherently...
It's two people doing something that they decided they want to do. What's the big deal? I don't know why people want to conflate. People go, they meet up at a bar, they do their thing, no money exchanged. They meet up at a bar, they do their thing, $10 exchanged. Why is one a crime and one isn't? And even if only 15, 20% of people in prostitution are actually people in that schema that I suggest,
I would
people
suggest it's
who
lower.
aren't being, well, we don't know this. All the statistics are bogus. I've read all the reports. You can't trust any of them. Regardless, can we find a way to get the otherwise law-abiding people out of the criminal nexus?
But
why must we infringe the liberties of 15% of them if we can find a way to not? Because it's moralizing. That's why, and I don't moralize to anybody. I let the Liberty Bell reign free. Do what you want, as long as you're not hurting anyone.
I have no problem with the government moralizing in this instance. And you have given zero weight.
I'm going to play that clip back for you years from now. You have no problem with the government moralizing.
In this instance.
If the government of the day is someone else, bam, next year they're going to be moralizing at us too. You can't give them that thin edge of the wedge.
Just as I don't think the government should be legalizing marijuana, just as the government shouldn't be legalizing heroin, which, there are some in the health department that would actually like to see that, in Health Canada, would like to see that happen. I don't think the government should be doing that because they are ultimately elected to protect society, and this is an industry that is inherently dangerous to women, specifically women. And you've given no weight, Anthony, to the women that have actually exited this industry, those women that we call survivors, these women that have nothing but terrible things to say about it.
I get emails every week from people still in the industry, and they say thanks for speaking up for their voice. Obviously stuff from people who have been victimized by it. And I take that into account. I want both sides to be respected.
You know what, Anthony? The concern is that in a study that was done looking at 150 different countries, it found that in countries that have legalized prostitution, they've seen an uptick in women and men engaging in this industry. And that is what the Conservative government wants to prevent happening.
Marissa Semkiw, thank you for this debate, as always. And I see I have not succeeded.
You have not succeeded.
I have not succeeded.
Perhaps I need to try harder to change your mind.
I will meet you next year. Merry Christmas to you.
Merry Christmas.